Hello and welcome to Reality Check. Now, today is World Press Freedom Day, and it's an important day because across the world and through history, if there's one pillar on which the torch of liberty has rested, it has been a free press. Anytime when anyone wants to move down the path towards tyranny, it's always after suppressing press freedom. Now, here in India, we've always prided ourselves on a free press, especially print. It's always been free. Well, since independence, it's been free. Television increasingly became freer. Post 91, 92 is when it became free. But we've always prided ourselves as a democracy on having a free press. But some of the rankings that are now coming out might make you worry a little bit. And let's just take, for example, the World Press Freedom Index, which is 2017. That's the map that's come up. These are the countries that this considers really free. Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, the Scandinavian countries. They really top the list. And then you come to the next level of countries which are have a reasonably free press, and you get in the Canadas, and you get in the United States at 43, United Kingdom is at 40. So those are the sort of countries that you're looking at. And then you keep on sliding down the scale past the United States, past Taiwan, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, go further, go further. There you are. That's where India comes up at 136. That's after Saudi Arabia, by the way. It is something that should make us concerned. It's not particularly a great sense of relief that Pakistan's slightly lower down at 139, but actually India is not that far away from Turkey. Turkey, would you believe it? I mean, that's Pakistan at 139, great, but then keep going down, you'll find Turkey there at 155. It's not that far away from India. And then you keep going, and you will eventually end up with China at 176 and North Korea. If you keep going, you'll find China somewhere at 176 and North Korea is at 180. So that's not a particularly good place for India to be. Now, why is it that this particular organization, Reporters Without Borders, says that India doesn't really have a free press? At 136, it doesn't seem particularly free. And it says it's that position down 3 from last time, essentially because according to them, Hindu nationalists are trying to purge all manifestations of anti-national thought from national debate. Self-censorship is growing in mainstream media. Journalists are increasingly the targets of online smear campaigns by most radical nationalists. Prosecutions are also used to gag journalists who are overtly critical of the government. And that's what this organization says. Let's now try and get some of the experts in to see whether that's really the case and whether any of this is happening. And by the way, the big light that many people are pointing to, certainly on Twitter, is that, yeah, well, the days of the mainstream media are over, and now true freedom only resides on social media. Is that true? Or are there some questions with that also? Because at the end of the day, there are problems with fake news coming out on social media. So let me just start off by welcoming some of our guests. And we have 3 of India's most senior and most respected journalists joining us on the program. Madhu Trehan, it's great to have you with us. Shekhar Gupta, Tavleen Singh, all 3 of you need very little introduction. We also have with us Arvind Gupta, who used to be the head of the BJP IT cell. Arvind been famously described, at least in one book, as the person who leads the troll army that takes on mainstream media. I know, Arvind, you will deny that and denounce that completely, but it's great to have you on for your point of view. Now, let me first ask you about this report, and then we'll come to press freedom in general. You, Shekhar, have repeatedly been saying since the morning that you think this is, well, you sort of had a very low opinion of this report, and you said it's not true to say India should be at 136.
It's a nonsensical report. You know, we love self-flagellation. We Indians have two...
This time we're not flagellating ourselves, as somebody else is flagellating.
No, we are celebrating it without questioning the facts. First of all, what is this rsf.org, right? I mean, on what do they base this? Online trolling? Online trolling is a common phenomenon all over the world. I would like to meet one journalist worth her salt who's intimidated into silence by online trolling. I mean, I feel unwanted if I'm not trolled for 10 minutes. But that besides,
you're doing something wrong.
It's an irritant. But to say one, I mean, to be behind, forget all other countries.
You're saying prosecutions are being used to gag journalists who are overtly critical of the government.
Well, let's count the number of cases. Are they listing any cases? Right? How many prosecutions? Which prosecutions? They've in fact also said the law of sedition is being used against journalists, but nobody's been convicted. It is bad to use the law of sedition against journalists, but show me the cases.
So you're saying...
So hang on. You know, just because something comes from a Western source, we jump with it. Like that other idiotic report from Pew saying that in 20 years, India will have the largest Muslim population in the world. Pakistan already has 5 crore Muslims in India. Pakistan's population is growing at twice the rate of India, but everybody ran with it in India.
Okay, so don't get too excited.
No, not too excited. I think just because something comes from the Western world, don't run with it. I beg you all.
Okay,
as fellow journalists.
All right, fine. So very strong view from him. He says it's premature to write the obituary of the free press in India, and it's absolutely crazy to be having us at 136 or even 133 or anywhere in that same category along with Saudi Arabia. Madhu, would you agree with that?
See, I agree with Shekhar because we have no idea what criteria they use. That's the first point. Secondly, if you see the numbers, even going by their criteria, the numbers haven't changed that much from the UPA's time. So as far as it going downhill suddenly, that's not the case. It's always been in the same area because whichever government is in power, there is always fear and favor going on all the time.
Yeah.
The difference in this one is that what I am concerned about is that the Prime Minister has not given a press conference since he came into power. So it puts journalists in a position where there is very little access for and little accountability from the government, which is the journalist's job. The Prime Minister said when he came into power that the media is no longer going to set the agenda. He will, and he has. The only problem that I have with like the UPA did their own Section 66A and attempts at the Anti-Defamation, all that, and shutting down websites, shutting down Twitter handles, they were just as bad. Now, my concern with this government is that there is definitely a lot of self-censorship, as there was in the UPA, but my concern is of two things. They have an electronic media monitoring center, which has 200 content editors, I believe, which watch 600 over 600 news channels, and hourly reports are sent to the Principal Secretary of the Prime Minister, to the Cabinet Secretary.
So that's too much monitoring, you're saying? I mean,
So
I guess
I would like to know
what happens after that. Do they go down on people?
The taxpayers are paying to have us watched. For what? One more point, please. And the latest one that they've created is the National Media Analytics, which watches everything on the web, internet websites, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And it has an amazing software.
But that's not a curb on free press freedom.
I'll tell you what it is. Let me finish. The software is brilliant because it categorizes reports into positive, negative, or neutral. And then after you're categorized, the journalist is then, their history comes out, that how many times have they been negative or how many times have they been positive.
And that therefore leads to self-censorship also.
No,
because
and there's
people will be
exactly, and there's fear. And in today's atmosphere, you see that the journalists who are close to the ruling party are admired. This does not portend well for journalism.
Okay, fine. So Madhu's slightly different viewpoint. Okay, Shekhar, let's also the report being apart.
So to say that there is no argument that there is no problem. There are problems. But to be ranked 45 places below Zimbabwe, Bishop Mugabe, just GK class, Google Bishop Mugabe. Half the world doesn't even go and play cricket in Zimbabwe.
Let's discount the report itself and try and understand. Let's try and look at the broader issue on World Press Freedom Day.
No, I think
before I come to Arvind,
wrong. Let's first look at the fact why we are discussing this. So either
because it's World Press Freedom Day.
So yes, so let's discuss it. Discount the report. Discount the report.
For example,
discount the report. Let's get into
how will they categorize Tavleen? Tavleen is sometimes positive, sometimes she's negative.
Tavleen,
how can they categorize us and put us in slots?
Okay, Tavleen. So let me first. Shekhar is very vociferous on the fact he doesn't think we should be talking about the report itself because he thinks it's completely
report
wrong.
Questions have been asked in French, answers have come in English.
Your view on the status of press freedom right now, and has it deteriorated? Is there an atmosphere of fear? Is there too much monitoring going on? Let me get your sense first.
Well, to tell you the truth, personally, I was targeted much more under the UPA. I was not just targeted personally, but people close to me were targeted. They were harmed financially by the last government. There was a vindictiveness that I cannot even get into because it's too long a story. But I was not the only one. Any journalist in that time that opposed Sonia Gandhi got into a lot of trouble. And to tell you the truth, nobody opposed Sonia Gandhi. I actually consider myself as, you know, a sort of a lone ranger who has dared to even say this on television. Under this government, I agree with Madhu totally that the Prime Minister has put himself into a kind of cocoon and has kept all journalists at a distance. And that, I think, is a terrible mistake for him. You know, and it shouldn't even actually happen, because
just pause, Tabreen, for a minute. Now, let me just show you what we are flashing up, Tabreen, what the Prime Minister actually said today, and I just want to read this out. He said today, he tweeted, if I can go back to the earlier tweet first, Prime Minister today tweeted, World Press Freedom Day is a day to reiterate our unwavering support towards a free and vibrant press, which is vital in a democracy. He'd made similar sort of statements, you know, earlier, Ramnath Goenka Awards, and many times he said it. He also went on to say, in today's day and age, social media has emerged as an active medium of engagement and has added more vigor to press freedom. So, Tabreen, if I can come back to you before I go to Arvind and get his take on this, is there a certain amount of intimidation, though, that comes from part of this, that journalists, and especially journalists who are writing something uncritical of the government, sometimes get themselves faced by attacks? Now, Shekhar says that's fine. You should wear that as a badge of honor. If you're being trolled for questioning the government, you should say, I'm proud of it.
Only, not physical attacks.
Yeah, electronic attacks. You're being trolled, you're being attacked. That's all fine, so long as it doesn't cross into being arrested or being hounded, you know, by or arrested, or, you know, being or having cases filed upon you, or being physically beaten up. As long as that's not happening, you shouldn't mind being trolled. Tabreen?
I get attacked. I must be doing something right, because I get attacked by the Congress as much as Congress trolls attack me as much as the BJP trolls. So, you know, I'm quite happy. I don't bother. In fact, I think that, you know, the Hindustan Times making a huge drama about it was completely unnecessary, because I agree with Shekhar. You know, if you want to be on Twitter, you should expect this. You can't stand the heat. Get out of the kitchen.
It's a free press. The Hindustan Times is allowed to write about trolling if they want to. But let me get Arvind then. Arvind,
exactly.
The man who at least who's been famously or infamously, at least in one recent book, been accused of leading an army of online trolls to attack journalists. Is there too much of is press freedom under a certain amount of threat right now? Whether you believe or don't believe this report, which says India is at 136, which means we don't really have too much of a free press, and it's specifically, this report refers to Hindu nationalists trying to purge all manifestations of anti-national thought, leading to self-censorship, and that journalists are the target of an online smear campaign. Your take on all of that, Arvind?
Well, couple of things, Vikram. Number one, I don't really comment on books of fiction and lies. A one-sided story gets published in India in the form of a book, which is not worth commenting, and I think that itself shows that there has been how much of freedom of press. Two, I think you know, if this, whatever this report is and whatever ridiculous ranking it is giving to India is based on a very unidimensional aspect, which is online trolling, and, you know, one section trolling the real mainstream media. I think everybody has said that, and I'm just going to reiterate. The mainstream media, the erstwhile electronic media or print media, is getting challenged by social media, and that's the real battle today. And in this whole channel also, you saw Shekhar, who was very, very active on social media, is getting it, that it's mainstream media, whatever they print, whatever they write, is going to get questioned if you're going to be on social media, otherwise choose not to be there. And because this medium did not exist before, when there was no convergence of social and electronic or social and print, this is a new phenomenon. Now, if you get questioned on an article or a reviews, if that is trolling, then that ranking will remain where it is. But the fact remains that we don't have Section 66A any longer in India.